Not today. What's up? Welcome into the last week of Black and White Show. We
A little teary-eyed.
are gonna go ahead and call it quits after this one because Baylor is not bowl eligible.
Yeah, and it'll be just wrong for us to have a show and not cover Baylor.
Yeah.
I guess we can talk about basketball. Basketball team had a pretty impressive win last night.
Yeah, they did.
We got another big game against Creighton, correct? Maybe, Sean? Nah.
You don't watch basketball.
Yeah.
Yes, that's correct.
So, thank y'all for and just being a part of our season.
Yeah.
Here at Three Nations Brewing, and just loving on us and loving everything, even though not everyone has been adding us when they comment about us, so we don't really know what to do to get better.
Yeah.
So from now on, if you have something to say, please at me.
At us.
Yeah. I know it's like a thing to say don't at me, but please at us. Yeah, please. So we know how we can get better. But it's been a fun rodeo, and Caroline has been great. She does all the work.
Great.
You look at her notes over the last 8-9 weeks compared to my notes, you can tell that she does all the work. So she's been great.
Thank you. Well, if you did at us and let us know some of your thoughts, and if they were bad, we might have a tearful apology like Baker Mayfield did this week.
Yeah, we might get up there and we might say this is out of character and I didn't mean to grab my crotch. Just so y'all know, I'm grabbing my crotch underneath the table.
And yelling expletives.
Yeah, so beep, bleep, bleep, grabbing my crotch. I like Baker Mayfield. I mean, he's a character. I mean, I think that's what we see in very competitive athletes and guys that want to win.
Amateur athletes,
And
non-professional athletes that shouldn't.
Yeah, well, okay. Well, maybe. So let's talk about football. Thank y'all, though. Thank you.
Does that hurt his chances of being Heisman?
Nah. See, this is the thing that Oklahoma has figured out. That you can purge a program and not really get in trouble for it. Now, I think we're going to figure out some things later. Maybe, I don't know. But, I mean, Bob Stoops leaving, the AD leaving, the president of the school leaving all within a year of each other, kind of ask some questions like what's going on. But Oklahoma has figured out how to purge the program and purge players to help them better on in the future. Exactly the same thing they did with Joe Mixon.
Yeah.
They purged him for a year, and they cleaned him up. We got him all, then he went out there, and he probably would have won the MVP of their bowl game last year, but he was in the news for other reasons, and it really helped his draft stock because now the Cincinnati Bengals sitting there like, he's a good player. We can draft him, and we can just say, he already served his time. Yeah. So now I think that Oklahoma is doing the exact same thing with Baker Mayfield. It hurts because he's a senior, he's competitive, he loves winning. And I agree with his apology. His apology is sincere. He meant what he said. I've
heard sorry too many times for Baker this year.
He's a competitor. I mean, if he's sorry he got called, he should have known that. Even though you're playing Kansas, Big 12 has a TV network deal, so you're going to be on TV. So, and especially with the limelight. And
I don't think it's going to hurt Heisman whatsoever. I mean,
zero. They purged him.
Well, and I think the whole personality and player off the field hasn't applied to many Heismans in the first place, so it's not going to hurt his Heisman.
Well, I mean, if he was convicted of murder, then he wouldn't be.
Be convicted of a lot more and win Heisman.
Not if you're not convicted. You are allegedly accused. I mean, we're gonna have to talk about we're gonna have to talk about that off the air because I'll lose my job and you'll be happy going to work on Wednesday before Thanksgiving.
Oh my!
But we're not gonna talk about that either. This is an opportunity for Oklahoma to get out in front of this and just say, hey, we're gonna sit him down. I don't know if he sits for a quarter or
Kyler
half.
Murray play 5 snaps and stick Baker in.
Yeah, I don't really know what's going to happen. I can tell you that Oklahoma's going to play for the Big 12 championship, and they're going to have a chance to play in the playoffs if they win these next 2 games. Baker Mayfield is a captain and leader of this team, and this hurts him more than ever. And I honestly feel like he was being honest with his apology, although I don't think it will change who he is.
No.
Because he's a competitor, and I grew up in the streets where people just talk mad head and what we call it, you talking head, and usually you get that from people that really, really garbage. Like LeBron James doesn't have to say anything to anyone. So TCU's not going to disrespect, Baker Mayfield, because then they know Baker Mayfield can go off on him. But when Marcus Smart gets up in LeBron's face last year in the playoffs, LeBron's like, "What are you doing, bro? Like, you're not even in the same league as me." But anyway, obviously he took a high road. Baker Mayfield's like, "Listen, what are you doing, bro? Like, you don't know who I am. I'm about to go dogging." And that's what he did. So I don't hate him for it.
It's about to go dogging.
Yeah. Yep. So dogging the pony show. I like Baker Mayfield. The Big 12 needs him to win the Heisman. The Big 12 needs him and the Oklahoma Sooners to win the national championship, to get any kind of respect for the conference. And also what they need to do, we need to get 7 of those teams into the into the postseason, being bowl games, to at least win 5 of them, no matter how many. And Texas Tech has a chance to go to the bowl game this year as well, but they got Texas this week, which they can beat Texas. But the way their offense been playing, sputtering up and down the field the last few weeks, it doesn't look very promising. So,
looking at the top 8 teams, though, this week, we've got some interesting matchups. It's a big rivalry week. That word is so difficult for me. I don't know why. Rivalry. Anyway, so we we decided to go through the top 8 games and see which are the potential closest upsets. So we've got Alabama at Auburn, Clemson at South Carolina, Miami at Pitt, Oklahoma versus West Virginia, Wisconsin at Minnesota, Auburn, Alabama, Georgia at Georgia Tech, and Notre Dame at Stanford this week. So out of those top 4 games, top 8 games, pick 4 that you think will be upsets this week.
Pick 4 of the top 8 teams, 7 games, because there's a top 10 matchup. I will go with Auburn beating Alabama. Okay. South Carolina beating Clemson.
No shot.
Okay, well, that's why there's a black and white segment, because we're going to definitely disagree. And it's because I'm black and you're white, obviously. If you haven't gotten the memo just yet, it's the last game of the year, and you should know that by now. So please add us if you have any questions. Auburn's going to run over. I think they're going to do some really good things with their running, and then using Jarrett Stidham to create some plays and extend some plays with his feet. I think that's going to help them get past this Alabama defense when their linebackers hobbling in this game. Clemson's they go to South Carolina. This atmosphere is crazy. It's a big atmosphere. I think they understand that this is a big game for them. And South Carolina's playing really good ball right now. They're going to have to create some opportunities to move up and down the field on this Clemson defense. But I think they do something to win that game. Miami's going to beat Pitt, in my opinion. Oklahoma's going to beat West Virginia. Wisconsin's going to beat Minnesota. But I have Georgia getting beat to Georgia Tech and Notre Dame getting beat to Stanford to finish out my top 4. My 4 picks for upsets in the top 8 teams. Okay. Georgia Tech is I think they're going to beat Georgia by 2 touchdown lead, because Georgia showed that they had some inefficiencies at linebacker and not being able to start the Auburn running back 2 weeks ago, who had over 230 yards of all-purpose offense. Their linebackers are going to have to be very, very disciplined to stop Georgia Tech, and I don't think they get it done.
Yeah. I will match you on some of those. Auburn and Alabama. The Tigers are 4-3 against Alabama when both teams are in the top 10. So Auburn's pulled off this upset, and twice with Nick Saban at the helm of that team. So I can definitely see that one happening, especially since it is at Auburn. We saw Georgia obviously just shut down there a few weeks ago. Then let's see, other upsets. I'm not gonna lie. The 4, I'd just be lying if I picked 4 because I don't think Clemson loses to South Carolina. Miami
You have
beats
to pick
Pitt.
4.
No, that's
No,
silly.
you have to pick 4. I
No.
pick 4.
4 teams aren't losing though.
Okay, but you have to
Therefore,
pick
upset
4.
them.
So which 4 are the most likely?
That's dumb.
Well,
Okay,
that's
fine.
it.
I'll say Wisconsin and Minnesota.
No, come on,
Wisconsin's
really?
Yeah. No, not really, because I don't agree. I think there's
Well,
only
out of all the
2
matchups, you think that Wisconsin has a better chance to upsetting them than South Carolina is going to upset Clemson? Or maybe Pitt upset Miami, which is the same team that derailed Clemson last year.
Listen, Wisconsin has never had a perfect regular season.
It will.
So for that reason, I say they,
Text me Saturday afternoon.
turf monster just gets them. And
Yeah, they're not going to trip on that turf monster. There's not a lot of turf in Minnesota. It depends on how the weather is, but I think Wisconsin's used to it, though. I mean, if it's some crazy weather and there's just a lot of slippage, like people
turf
just
monsters?
yeah.
Okay. Or the abominable snowman.
Yeah. So I don't think that
I
happens.
say Georgia Tech. That's possible, just because I think Georgia could be so focused on SEC championship that they don't necessarily prepare for this game. And lastly, I'll say Notre Dame at Stanford. Stanford's playing really well right now. That's the only other one that I think is an actual potential upset.
All right. Well, text me Saturday afternoon and we'll talk about that.
Sounds good.
We will talk about that. But Baker Mayfield wins the Heisman, you think?
Yeah.
No question.
No question.
JT Barrett. Khalil Tate, Arizona's quarterback.
No.
I was looking at Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, he's back in the top 4 now.
He has 95 rushing yards a game,
Yeah.
which is crazy
Yeah.
because it is like severely dropped down from his average, 4 weeks ago.
Right.
And Bryce Love is up there about $140 a game.
Yeah.
Khalil Tate is over 100 a game, even though he hasn't played a full season. He came in midseason and really gave that Arizona Wildcat offense a spark. Who else is out there? Alabama has a running back that's not really being talked about.
We talked about him.
But he's not considered like a
national. Yeah.
And Lamar Jackson. I mean, the guy's putting up crazy numbers, probably better numbers than he did last year. He's just on a sucky team.
Yeah.
What about so let's talk about.
But that's why from the beginning of the year I said don't believe the hype of Lamar Jackson. Because
I believe the hype.
He doesn't have the weapons around him to win Heisman again. I keep kicking the table.
Stop.
I'm sorry.
We forgot to move the other table over. So why are you going to make him look bad? Add us about how Caroline need to stop kicking the table.
I move a lot. I sit on my foot.
Coaching carousal. Carousel.
Carousel?
Yeah.
Carousel.
I'm tripping. Okay, stop. Anyways, but what? Don't snort. Don't snort. So stop. What's happening? Have you been keeping up with it? Any?
What are you talking about?
The coaching changes.
Like in college football in general?
Yeah, like the big jobs.
Yeah.
Nebraska's going to be open. Oregon State's going to be open.
Tech's going to be open.
Tech most likely is going to be open. A&M's going to be open. UCLA's open. Tennessee's
A&M's
open.
not going to be open. They give someone another year.
They give him another year?
Yeah.
Well, maybe. So I've reports saying they're expected to fire him regardless of the LSU game this weekend. But we'll see. Arkansas is open because they fired Jeff Long. Yeah. And did you see the tweet? That was like, hey, you need to change your Twitter address because you don't work for Arkansas.
Ouch.
And he said, I would if I knew how. So that is like probably the best thing Jeff Long can actually say because he was not my favorite person in 2015, I think, when Baylor. No, 2014, the first year of the playoffs. Anyways, and then you have Florida. So you got all these teams. Matt Campbell is a hot coach, but he has a huge buyout, $9 million at Iowa State. But anyways, I want to talk about who ends up at Texas Tech.
Well, I think you might have an idea.
Oh, you don't have an idea? You don't think? I think
I would just be stealing what we talked about earlier,
yeah.
so I'll
Cliff
let you
Kingsbury gets canned, and then they hired Coach Kendall Browse at Texas Tech. And
I think for Tech, that's the best move you can make.
I think it's a good move.
You've
I mean, there's some other high
Texas
coaches out there.
You've got an offense that so many
hand in glove.
Yeah, and
fits.
And so many Texas kids are dying to play in an offense like that.
Yeah.
So I think
if I'm Tech, I'll probably do something very similar to that, and then I go out there and I pay whatever defensive coordinator has the best scheme around a 4-2-5 defense. I pay them $1 million to bring in a defensive coordinator that's going to be able to recruit in Texas and be able to get players in space to make plays. I think Texas Tech is primed to be a really, really good football team. They have athletes. They've just not been able to get over the edge, and that's one of the hang-ups there with Cliff. I mean, his first year he went 7-5. I think he beat Arizona State in the bowl game that year, and everybody's like, oh, man, this guy's going to be really, really good, and kind of tapered off.
Yeah.
But, I'm interested to see, this time next week we'll be hearing some of those coaches getting plugged in to new opportunities and new jobs. Maybe in a couple of weeks, but some seasons will be ending for coaching vacancies. Tennessee's not going to a bowl game. Florida's not. UCLA most likely won't. They have to win this weekend. So a lot of football. Oregon State, another team, could be filling coaches next week. So we'll see. We got some Big 12 games this week.
Yeah.
Not really big.
On some Big 12 bowl eligible and non-bowl eligible. We've got Oklahoma State versus Kansas this week. Super exciting game.
Super exciting.
Psych.
It's in Kansas.
Oklahoma State is coming off a loss to Kansas State, so I mean they want to finish their year out strong, and they can do that. But
all I'm saying is that Kansas players before the game, please go shake Mason Rudolph's hand before he send you some explicit language and crotch grabs across the field. I think Oklahoma State wins this game easily.
Yeah.
Kansas, I mean, they have D1 players too. It just stinks that they can't put anything better on the field to actually win games. The next game we got Texas at Texas Tech. Texas Tech has an opportunity to go ahead and win a 6th game of the year.
Right.
Possibly be able to keep Cliff Kingsbury there, but they're going to have to win in Austin. Austin, the Longhorns have a really, really good defense, really good special teams unit, and I just don't think Texas Tech is able to get it done in Austin this weekend.
No,
Keep
I
it
don't
weird
think
in
so
Austin.
either. Tech will get weird in Austin too.
Yeah, well, they only scored 3 points against TCU, who was out Kenny Hill last week, and Darius Anderson.
Yeah,
and they're two top offensive weapons, and TCU still finds a way to shut them out and not be able to yield much offense to them.
Iowa State at K-State this week. It's going to be a close game.
Mm-hmm.
Considering it's at K-State, that does make me want to give them the slight advantage. But we've seen Iowa State dominate this year, and we've seen Iowa State pump the brakes. So
what was Iowa State's – what was the last week when they played Baylor? What was halftime score?
17-10.
So – at halftime, so we only scored 3 points after halftime?
Yeah.
So, Heathcock, the defensive coordinator for Iowa State, he's been really amazing late in the season on the road in the second half. Really all year long. He held Baker Mayfield to 7 points. He held Texas Tech to 7 points. He held West Virginia to 0 points. He held Baylor to 0 points. Now he goes on the road against the K-State team, who has a sophisticated offense, but they were able to open up last week against Oklahoma State and beat Oklahoma State. I think Iowa State wins this game because that defense at Iowa State is a bend but don't break. They're going to make you play impatient football, throwing dink routes underneath and force you out of your game, and then you tend to make more and more mistakes, just similar to what we did last week when Charlie Brewer threw the ball deep in our own red zone and they're deep in their territory and got it picked off. That because he got more aggressive than what they were giving up. I think Iowa State is able to win this game this week.
Yeah. Should be a close one, though. in my opinion. I
Okay.
think
Okay.
we'll see.
Kansas is at Oklahoma State. My bad.
Yes. And then we've got West Virginia at Oklahoma. Will Greer, saw him go down last week. He's out 4 to 6 weeks. Oh my gosh, they posted this disgusting picture and his finger was all the way sideways. So I was like, ugh. Anyway, so he's out 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, that sucks.
Throwing hand. So even though Baker Mayfield is not starting, I think OU will have no problem with them.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Oklahoma has honestly, if Rodney Anderson could have played all year long, Rodney Anderson will be in that Heisman conversation as well. Oklahoma's running back. They have some really, really big offensive weapons in Oklahoma. They're going to be able to go in there and win the last final game for these seniors for the Sooners, and they're going to come to Dallas next weekend and face TCU for a Big 12 championship, and then get ready to, hopefully they stay healthy the next 2 weeks, have a chance to go out there and win a national championship. The caveat in that Iowa State Kansas State game is Montgomery, who is probably one of the best, if not the best, running backs in the Big 12, will not play this game. Most likely will not play this game. So that does affect some of the things that Iowa State is able to do and really run. I mean, late in the game, Baylor was unable to start Montgomery, and he had, almost 100 yards rushing in the second half, which he was held to about 45 in the first half last week. So a much different ball game with Montgomery not in at quarterback. So Baylor versus TCU. This game is in Fort Worth. And it used to be a huge game. Last year, TCU beat us by a lot of points.
And TCU is going to beat Baylor by a lot of points again.
This week?
Yeah.
It'll be the third time, the third win in a row for TCU, if they can do it.
If they can do that.
So the thing you got to think about is like the mentality of preparation. Baylor's not a good team, but they're talented. They're not playing good football, I guess.
Yeah, but it's also a giant rivalry game. These teams hate each other, regardless of how long it's
TCU can win or lose this game and play for the Big 12 championship next week.
Yeah.
TCU is playing a 1-10 Baylor. So from a mental standpoint, you win the game. I've always been taught you win the game long before you play.
Yeah.
The hay is already in the barn. TCU can have a mental lapse in preparation this week and be like, okay, we're going to beat Baylor. We just need to, get through this game and play Oklahoma next week.
Yeah.
And Baylor, this is Baylor's bowl game. A couple years ago when Baylor was when we won our first Big 12 game in first Big 12 championship in 2013, we go to TCU. TCU is like 4-7. They're not going to go to a bowl game. But they will love to disrupt our chances of winning the game. Mm-hmm. And they played us really, really close. Clay Fuller catches a touchdown pass late in the game. Bryce Petty, this is the game Ahmad Dixon was kicked out of because he hit Trayvon Boykin late, and he walks out. Ahmad Dixon. He's a character. He's a Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, that is true.
So I agree with you. TCU wins this game.
I think the biggest thing is Baylor has beat themselves up so much in the last 2 losses against Tech and with Iowa State. Just so many turnovers that Baylor's a young team. They're going to make these mistakes. And I think, especially against the TCU, they're going to be nervous. Kenny Hill's probable. I mean, they're going to be nervous.
The thing is, for TCU, they're going to try to remain as healthy as possible to play Oklahoma next week. And that's what is problematic for Oklahoma because now you're playing this team twice in the same year.
Right.
And it's just hard to beat, the
team twice,
top 2 teams in the Big 12. It's hard to beat them twice. TCU is – Phil Snow has done a really good job with Baylor's defense this year. He's held so many teams under their average.
Yeah.
The problem with this defense is it hasn't been able to create turnovers. and Baylor's offense have given up several turnovers.
Right.
So when you're not winning the turnover battle, it'll be good for these young guys to learn this lesson this year. So when they're juniors and seniors, they're probably not going to turn the ball over near as much, if at all, and they're going to make very, very aggressive plays on defense once they get more settled down. But in order for them to win this game, TCU has to have a huge letdown, and Baylor has to force, Sean Robinson to make throws that he's not capable of. Last week, Sean Robinson had 84 yards rushing and 85 yards passing. So they're not trusting him to throw the ball.
Right.
But they're still able to run the ball. They had over 200 yards of offense. But that defense for TCU is really going to limit what Baylor can do because they're a very smart and aggressive defense. If Baylor wants to win, they have to get the running backs involved early in the pass game, short to medium pass game, and also get their tight ends involved. That's what really killed TCU when they faced Oklahoma. Now we don't have those athletic tight ends that the Oklahoma had,
Right.
but there's a mismatch problem when you're covering those bigger guys with smaller guys and safeties. TCU still wins, I think. I think the game is going to be – I know Phil Snow hasn't given up a lot of points lately. I think the game is going to be something around 42-17 TCU. If it's close, if we can hold TCU to 21 points, we may have a chance, which we could do. Phil Snow is a good defensive coordinator. He's getting better each and every week. These guys are playing a lot more relaxed. You got to be able to force turnovers to win games.
Yeah.
Especially in the Big 12, you got to be able to steal possessions.
Right.
So, TCU.
We'll see.
What do you think? Sick 'em?
TCU. Sorry.
Sick 'em, Bears?
Sorry, Bears.
Yeah.
Love ya.
What else we have? Thank you, Sean. Sean has been here every week, except once, so maybe twice. Once?
No, just last week.
Just once. And he's like Caroline's dad.
Yes.
And he did you bring me pizza one time? Yeah. Caroline couldn't eat it because she's gluten free. What kind of dad forgets their daughter's gluten free? Has a gluten allergy. But listen, it's been a fun year, and thank you, Jenny, for letting me stay away from the kids on Tuesdays for the last 10 weeks. And
she's gonna be ready to have you back.
yeah, I know. I just gotta
And
find something to do next Tuesday.
Come to Three Nations.
Come to Three Nation Brewery.
Whenever.
Next year it'll be a different date and different
Yeah,
time.
hopefully Thursdays.
Yeah, hopefully with Caroline next year.
Not, there's always another white.
Girl just walking around out there that knows football, that happen to go to Baylor, that live in Dallas. It works 10 minutes from here. Yeah,
There's got to be plenty of those.
help me find that Baylor bubble of people. Thank y'all so very much. It's been fun.
Yeah.
Any closing remarks?
Sick and Bears.
Sick and Bears. Have a good one. We'll see you later.